Please welcome to the stage the founder and chairman, Mr. Steve Morris.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Exit Realty. Woo. I've come to have some fun. Who wants to have some fun? I figure if you can't have fun, don't do it. But if you're having fun, you're probably good at it. And I want to tie all of the shoelaces into a bow today. A lot of the important things that you were supposed to hear this week you've already heard. Having our speakers been absolutely fabulous? Fabulous? Wow. So proud of all of them. And we're getting better and better in this particular area. There's more people that are rising to the stage. The stage is a wonderful home. It's a wonderful place to be. It takes a lot of getting used to, but if you can own this stage, you own the future. And we've got more and more people rising up and becoming very good at this. And if you ever want to become good at it, Mr. Bob McKinnon is the person to speak to. And he's an expert with regard to the stage and how to deliver a message, and we're so proud of Bob. Thank you, Bob. Now, speaking of Bob, 2 years ago I laid down a challenge to Bob. No, I'm not going to do it again. The modern man, George Carlin's modern man, was never done better by anybody than Bob. He did a magnificent job, unbelievable job. On the stage, and I laid a challenge in front of him because he was a champion, a true champion. And I'm not going to bump fenders with any of my people and lay on a challenge like that unless I think they potentially could do it. But I sat there with bated breath at the edge of my chair like everybody else, and he got every letter perfect. It was just wonderful. Tied it right down, snuck it in the 4 minutes, and more than happy to give him 10 grand. And he and his wonderful bride, Sherry, spent some time in Italy on their honeymoon. Spent every nickel of it, I'm sure. But guess what? There's more. I laid down another challenge. And it was at the end of last year's convention. Watch the following.
Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great time here at our convention in Nashville. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Anthony Brown. I work with Exit Realty Metro in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And I actually spoke at the conference last year in Anaheim. But long before that, when I had just started speaking with Exit, I was traveling around to the sales rallies in Ontario, Canada. And that was when I first got to spend my first real time with Steve Morris. Now, this was about the same time that I had been discharged from therapy. So for those of you that don't know, I was hit by a minivan and paralyzed in 2009. I had a brain injury, so I was completely paralyzed on the left side of my body. And with brain injuries, they put a very finite expectation on your recovery period. And at a certain point in time, they say, you know, it's been 5 years. We don't feel like you're going to progress any further, and they discharge you from therapy. And this was just about the time that I got to spend some time with Steve. And Steve was the first person to really challenge me on this. When people would ask me how my recovery was going, I would say, it's great. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. But Steve was the first one that kind of made me think, why not more? Why not go further? Why not push harder? And at that time that I met Steve, I could not move my left hand at all. So my left hand was completely paralyzed. It did not move a bit. And Steve said, Anthony, listen, I will give you $5,000 if you can move one of your fingers at the convention in Anaheim. And I could, but he doubled down on the bet. He said, if you can move all your fingers an inch by the time the convention in Nashville comes around, I'll give you $10,000. Now, I can do it. I definitely can do it, but instead of just showing you, I want to take you on a little journey of how I came to do it, how I got myself there. So have a look. How I got myself there. So I researched and studied a lot of different therapy techniques, and a couple of the best ones that I found for me, one was electrode stimulation therapy. So I bought a machine where I actually hooked up electrodes onto my forearm and used electrical currents to stimulate the muscles that control my fingers and my wrist. And I found that very beneficial in just getting some movement going in my wrist and in my fingers. Another great technique that I used was splinting therapy. So especially during times of rest, like when I'm sleeping, my spasticity kicks in and my arm feeds into the flexor pattern. And what the splint does is it allows me to maintain my passive range of motion during times of rest. That was very helpful. As with any good exercise routine, I lifted weights. So that's what's called a finger weight, and that helped me practice my grip and also the strength and endurance in my fingers. I found that quite helpful. Another great thing that I discovered was repetition therapy. So I would do a small, fine motor skill and do the same thing over and over again. So you see here, I'm just using a clothespin and I'm opening and closing it over and over again. And that just allows my brain to really train on specific movements. I also did a number of stretching techniques. So this is a stretching wheel, and it's actually used to stretch out the muscles in my forearm. So again, that helps with my range of motion. I studied and learned a lot about nutrition, both for my recovery but also for life in general. And three of the best things I learned about were how and when to consume water, the benefits of apples, and the benefits of omega-3 fish oils. Those are three things that I'll definitely keep with me and use for the rest of my life. But one of the best things I did was I just practiced everywhere I went. You know, no matter where I was, I tried to use my left hand. So here I'm just sitting at my desk and I'm trying to just pick up and move a thumb drive. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but no matter where I was or what I was doing, I was just trying to use my left hand over and over again, just to really establish those connections and really get things moving. Sometimes it takes a while. There we go. I got it that time. I got it there. And one of the best things I did was I programmed my subconscious to believe that I was going to do this. I affirmed every day, many times during the day. I repeated to myself. I told myself that I was going to do this. I programmed my subconscious to the point where I believed without a shadow of a doubt that this was going to happen. And that's probably the best thing that helped me on this journey, was just the affirmations and the programming of my subconscious. Because it was actually, I'll steal some words from Steve here, but what you think about or what you think and believe about yourself is what will manifest into your reality. And here I am. So I'm sitting in my office. There's my pinky finger an inch. There's my ring finger an inch. There's my middle finger an inch. My index finger an inch. And just for good measure, I'll bring them back into a fist here. There we go. And here's another shot. Those are all four of my fingers, all in continuous motion, all moving an inch. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Brown, come on down. A true champion.
That's amazing.
On behalf of Exit Realty Corp International, I present Anthony with $10,000. There you are, man.
And it's not moving. I love you, dude.
Thank you. Wow. Never underestimate the power of the human mind. What we've witnessed this week is individuals who have overcome tremendous challenges, renovating themselves just to get back to normal. We've always said that building is less expensive than renovating, because in renovations you knock it down and then you have to build it back up. And they've had to spend tremendous effort, focus, concentration, gall, grit, gumption, their lives, operations, a lot of blood, tears, sweat, just to get back to normal, just to be just like you. You're already normal. You know, in Cliff's story, it's an interesting story, and I love to examine the whole journey of these people, and including the pain, not ignoring the pain. Because in a lot of cases, pain is a great motivator. And sometimes it's something that we abhor. And sometimes our own sense of inhibition has us avoid pain. But as we watch people go through the trenches of pain to get where they have to be, to find themselves, we're all on a journey to find ourselves. That's what we're doing, each and every one. That through that journey, Cliff literally had too much energy. There was too much Cliff. There was too much of him all over the place. Hard to contain. And he was blowing his marriage, blowing his family relationships, ruining everything. It was just too much of everything going on. And what nature had to do was take away a part of Cliff, take part of his physicality away to get him grounded, brought back to earth, to discover his children, discover his wife, and discover his family. What a person has to go through to find themselves. It's unbelievable. He still has tremendous energy. When he was shaking me up here the other day, I wasn't sure. I wasn't going to fight it. I wasn't sure where I was going to end up. I thought maybe a few ribs will probably get broken, but I think I'll be fine. And it's still a tremendous amount of energy, but I think he's found love in his heart. And I think he's grounded now, and I think we're going to see a tremendous sense of purpose generated as a result of all of this. 22 operations, are you kidding me? Just to slow him down to the right pace so that the rest of us could really enjoy who he is. And Anthony, I mean, think about it. If you had the same challenge, I had no idea he was going to go down and get all these exercises and lifting weights, squeezing. The creativity, the originality, but I love that. I love it when we see it in the people. At every ground level, it doesn't matter from where, when there's originality and creativity. And anytime you've ever said to yourself that you're not creative, you're absolutely so wrong about that. You're nothing but creative. And when you let the creative juices fly, fabulous things happen. And that's where the exit formula came from. And a little bit of a black sheep attitude, a little bit of a, you know, I'm just fed up with the way it's going. I think there's probably a better way. And not being afraid of that, not being afraid to be independent. I think really ultimately your individuality, as Emerson said, is probably your most important sense of potentiality, that you're very much an individual. Vive la différence, as the French say, that your differences are so important. And the one thing I love about dealing with people, and we do it on a regular basis every day, and I'm getting better at it moment by moment, is I love your differences. And this is not about Pavlov's dogs. Tommy Stanton, laugh. See? It's not about Pavlov's dogs. I want to capture his laugh and put it on my phone, so every time my phone rings, it's Tom. I think that would be good. I have no idea what he's laughing about. He never stops laughing. I love every moment of it, but no matter what mood I'm in, I really, the whole world could be crashing around me if Tom laughs. I'm totally changed. He's taken me right out of it and put me someplace else. The experience of being around you people is absolutely wonderful. I enjoy every moment of it. But over the years, and now this is the 19th year, next year is our 20th. 20 years. Wow. Where did it go? 20 years it's all been about me finding myself. You're on your trek finding yourself. It is Star Trek. You know, we're going places where nobody's ever been before, right? You've never been here before. Did you hear Bill Pankinen up here yesterday? He stood there as one of the leadership and asked for the order, and I don't think anybody could supersede the conviction in his heart coming through his words as he asked you, as one of us, for the order of the day to literally go forth and multiply. But he was really you up here. He was really speaking your words. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Bill never would have done that. He's grown into that. You're in a constant state of growing. Each and every one of us are. And there's a lot of building and stabilizing that takes place, but we said if you're up, reach down. If you're down, reach up. There's going to be somebody there for you. We had the word family reinforced here yesterday so much, and it's wonderful to watch the garden grow and little seedlings start to pop up and little ideas and little perspectives. And family came out about 4 or 5 times very, very strongly. And the importance of that, the integration of that, the welding together of that, and the groundedness of that, of what family really ultimately means. And sometimes your personal family really perhaps didn't really give it to you exactly what you were looking for, and you could find it in a corporation. Imagine getting grounded and feeling whole at the corporate level. You don't see that out there too much anymore. So when you tell me that you feel like your family, you know, I witnessed that. And that's a wonderful reflection of all the efforts that it's taken, not only by me. I'm the originator, but you guys are the executors. You execute it, origination, execution. I can pop up some ideas, but then I have to have other people other than myself because I'm theoretical by nature. There's not a lot of practicality about me. I surround myself with practical people, logical, rational, practical people, grounded people. But if it's inspirational or if it's theoretical, I'm in my own world. And the delivery of words, intentions through the conduits of words. I love that. And being deliberate in that sense of purpose in the building and stabilizing of a life. You've only got one life. I don't think this is the end and the beginning and the end of that life, but I think it's a snapshot of the whole life is what we're doing right here, right now. And we want you to feel whole. We want you to feel complete. We want you to feel grounded. And we want you to know and understand that you can trust the system. You can trust the people around you. And ultimately, after the fact, you can learn to trust yourself. Trusting yourself is one of the finest gifts you could give to yourself. And it starts off by saying, I trust myself. And maybe you've never said that before. Now, in the building and stabilizing of things, I want to use a metaphor, an analogy. We're going to talk right now about the creation of a fabulous building that's been in the North American continent for many years, the Empire State Building. This building, just to give you an idea, is 103 stories high. It's about 14, including the tower on the top, which is about 200 feet, about 1,450 feet high, 103 stories. It's got 6,500 windows. It weighs 365,000 tons. It was built in 1930 in January. By about 1950, they sold it the first time around for about $35 million. Today they figure, well, in 2012, they estimated the value at $2.5 billion. 4 million people visit this building on a yearly basis. And at one time, it was the tallest skyscraper in the world. And it has a tremendous meaning in New York, the Empire State Building. A fabulous pinnacle of strength and power and something. But guess what? It took 3,000 people to build that building. 7 million man-hours to build that building. And they built it in 13 months. It's hard to get a home built in 13 months today. They did 4.5 stories a week. In depressionary times. Everybody needed a job because 25% of them were out of a job. And there was no complaining, because if you complained, they'd just simply put you aside. There was somebody else. There was somebody else's standing in line ready for that job. And as they started to build this thing, they used to take red-hot rivets. These are red-hot, flaming hot rivets to put into the steel to hold it all together, and with like a lacrosse racket gizmo, throw the rivets to each other up the floors right to the top to put in another rivet, And you'd have to catch the hot rivet and whip it up, and they'd catch it and put it into place and rivet it into place. And that's how they built that building. And everybody was lean and mean. There was no fat and sloppy. There wasn't too much of anything. There was hardly anything of anything. But they thought in 1930 that they had to do something to set the tone, to change the effort of things, to change the attitude of things, to change the mood of things, to get the people going in the right direction. Because the economy and everything the world stood for at that point was going in the wrong direction. And they built it, and everybody was proud of it. Finally, they were proud of themselves. Arm in arm, without complaint. And that's the true definition of mastermind. Everybody going in the same direction, arm in arm, without complaint. You ever find yourself complaining? When you look at Cliff up here with his artificial limb, what happened to your complaining then? Did you not walk out of that room that day saying, what was I complaining about? But sometimes, we lose a sense of what it's really all about, of what's really, really important. You've still got a breath in your body. You can still do good work. You can still work arm in arm with people. You can still be helpful and supportive. And as you get the most and the best out of everybody that's around you, you're going to get the most and the best out of yourself. Every time. And the best things that have ever come into your life have come as a result of giving, not getting. And yet the industry itself has always been gimme, gimme, gimme. So we reversed the engines at exit. We said there's going to be a different way. We're going to actually reverse the emotion of real estate from ego-driven to empathy-oriented. Instead of me first, it's going to be you first. Can you not feel that? Have we not made that impression? It's here in this room. You feel it. So, there is a feeling factor, and it's like crazy glue that holds us all together, and that's why you do it. And I know there's days you wake up in the morning and you just haven't got enough energy to get out of bed, and 3 coffees isn't going to do it. I know that. But when the tough, get going, it's because of tough circumstances. And before you know it, you throw your shoulders back and your chin up, because it's not just you. It's not just you, it's us. It used to be I, it used to be me, now it's us, now it's we. And you know that when your cup runs out of water, you've got a well to come back to. You know that. We've got open-ended training, and our teachers are of the finest caliber any place in the world in the real estate business, and we're so proud of them. And we're teaching, training, and coaching, and they're keeping up with things, keeping up with times. And the managers are starting to come back to broker training on a regular basis, because usually when they run out of gas, they just haven't got enough of us inside of them, and all they've got to do is come back with proximity and come close to us so that we can dump some of what we've got into them, just like you put high-octane fuel into their tanks to get them going again, because you do run out of gas from time to time. And you can't run a rocket ship on regular gas. You're not going to find exit any place other than exit. Now, as we start to, we look at this building being built and the construction of it all, there was a lot of hammering. A lot of hammering. And when they built railways across from east to west, and they said, go west, young man, there was hammering. And sometimes it was a sledgehammer, right? Driving it down, building those roads, working together. Hard work, calloused work. Well, sometimes when you do what you do, you've got to have psychological calluses, not so much physical calluses on your hands, like they did. But you've got to have psychological calluses, and yet you've still got to remain human because we're in the people business. That's what we're in. And they deserve the fact that you're very human with them because it is a sensitive time. It is the biggest purchase they'll ever make in their entire lives in most cases. And yet the return on invested time is the finest you could realize any place. If you just come to understand it's not about the money, it's about the service you provide. Now ask yourself this question, am I providing enough service? Has service been on my agenda? Is that what this is all about? Am I known for my service? Who would know me for my service? What are they talking about when they talk behind my back? Because guess what? They're all talking behind your back. And what are they saying? Because listen to this, reputation is everything. So, when we're walking tall, as I want you to do, I want Exit to have an impeccable, add that word to your library, to your dais, impeccable. I want Exit to have an impeccable reputation. But we are in the people business. We are. Why wouldn't we be the best? Why wouldn't we be the best? This idea is the best one to come along. You've been around for a long time, 19 years in this business. You've had lots of time to check it out. You can go and do your homework every place if you want to. Check them all out. I've checked them all out. And good luck to you coming back to me and finding something better. Bring all the executives of all those major corporations in on this stage and let them tell me how much better their system is than mine. They can't do it. We talk about hammering. And I can't literally force a horse to drink. I can't. But I can make a suggestion. Monkey see, monkey do. I get up in the morning and I start hammering. I deal with ideas. It's like hammering a nail into wood. And some of the ideas are pretty easy. They go in pretty easy. If I could hit one of these damn things, they'd go in easy. I haven't got my glasses on. I'm trying my best. But you'll notice, if I'm just using a toy hammer and that I haven't got my heart in this, I'm not going to do a very good job. Now, what would you rather have? A toy hammer or a big hammer? I never met a man that didn't want a bigger hammer. Because some of those nails are a little bigger. And you got to keep hammering. Sometimes you're a million miles away from what you really want to be, but you got to put those ideas inside your heart so you become the ideas so that you can go forth and express what that idea means to you. You take it from the outside world, you hammer it in the inside world repetition, and then you become that idea over and over. I'm doing my affirmations over and over and over. But then again, sometimes you're just a 2 out of 10. But you want it. It's desire. Desire is a pulling power. You want it in your heart. You want that. I want that. What do you think Cliff was thinking about on operation number 20? What do you think? What do you think? Tubes out of his nose. Gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. And then there's these challenges of life that come along. Oh my God, I'm a million miles away. All the hammering. I gotta keep at it. I gotta keep at it. Yes, you do. There's not a person in this room that doesn't want to be stronger than they are right now. And you're not as good as you're going to be 3 years from now or 5 years from now. But you're a lot better than you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago. A lot better now. Yeah. You're a lot better now, and you're getting better progressively. It's progressive realization. You get a target. You put a road to the target. Now, there's 360 degrees in a circle. There's many different roads, but all roads go to Rome, don't they? You create a road to go to the target. Now get on the road, head toward the target. Don't go too fast, don't go in the ditch, and just progressively continue until you reach the target. Isn't that what we do? That's what we do. If I say 3,600 franchises and over 100,000 real estate agents that love and respect the company, I mean it. And it ain't over till it's over. Line in the sand. That's where we're going. That's doable. It's doable, and we are doing it. Now, I pull from the era date. I'm quite fond of my birthday. Okay, we'll do it on my birthday. And we'll celebrate taking this wonderful idea, and it started as an idea, and we've manifested into a reality. And yes, we've put a few shekels into our pocket, yes. We've had a better life as a result of it, yes. And we've enjoyed it all the way, enjoying every moment of life, passionately, one day at a time. And that's how you're supposed to live your life, one day at a time, with a smile on your face. Right, Tommy? Right! Hey! Are you having any fun? I asked Tammy a very important question the other day, probably a few weeks ago. It was a very important question. And it was this, and I said, now think about this, because this is your life too. Are you enjoying the spaces in between the activities? Are you enjoying the spaces in between the activities? It's not the notes that make the music. It's the spaces in between the notes that make the music. It's not the words that make the acting. It's the spaces in between that makes the acting. And stand-up comedy is all about timing, isn't it? It's about the time in between the activities. I don't want you to be having a heart attack or a stroke running around willy-nilly just to win a trophy on my behalf. I want you to have some fun doing it. I want that to be a benefit to your family, a benefit to your kids. I want you to have some time, and you've got to take some time. And if you're smart, if you follow my instructions, some of you do, you'll book your time off at the beginning of the year. You take your map for the year, and you book your time off right then. Vacation, 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 and whatever spaces other than trade shows, conventions. Then you start to fill in when you're going to work. Work is the last thing I add to the map. I don't start filling it up with work and starting to work, because work is the most important thing. I got to work. It's not obsessive, compulsive, addictive. It's not. And yet my champions have a tendency to go there. And every once in a while I've got to grab them. And I've got some champions, thank you very much. I've got some serious, serious champions. But I have to retain a perspective of what that's all about, because I want them to be around a long, 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 long time. Right, Nasby? 100, baby. 100. We're going there. I'm going to 101, so I'm going to whip your ass. He wants to carry my casket. You got the right front, okay? Don't drop it. Keep taking your vitamins. Building and stabilizing. What's the point of building a company if you don't stabilize it? Stabilization is every bit as important as building. We have salespeople in the front lines. We've taken the position that the assets of the corporation are the agents who generate all the frontline money that creates all the profit and pays all the bills. So important. If you get the good agents, you get the good business. If you don't, you don't. The arithmetic is pretty simple, right? What's our job? We got to get them, keep them. We got to train them. We got to make them better, and we got to make them want to stay. We got to create a system, put it together so they can't leave. They don't want to leave. It's a love affair. It's a corporate love affair. How did we brand exit? It's a corporate love affair. We love being here. My people at head office range between 10 and 19 years. The oldest one, who's not chronologically the oldest one, is Christina Lewis. And believe me, she organizes me. She gets me. She puts me on the back of the bus. She sends me over there. She says, go there and talk. Go there and do this. And she organizes this entire convention. Please, a special round of applause for Christina Lewis. Hey, hey, hey. She's been with me since she was 18 years of age. And now that she's just 23, she's really enjoying herself. It's all about the people. The product is really ultimately incidental. It just happens to be a big product for a big return on invested time. That's what you could have been selling toothpicks, no question. But we picked this industry, and we picked an industry that never really was turned into a business. And we said, why don't we do it? Why don't we turn it into a business? And why don't we build in things that were never there before? And a little Gene Roddenberry there. Why don't we do this? Why don't we put in a pension plan? Why don't we put in some beneficiary benefits? Why don't we make this good for the family as well as good for the agent? Why don't we create a sense of collateral as a result of working here? It was just EXIT, extrapolated informational technology. The idea was extrapolated from the insurance business. I used to be in the insurance business. I took it from there. I took it from this graph to this graph. And I said, if they can do it over there, we can do it over here. And we did that. That was a little bit of a leapfrog, a long step, a long jump. But I said I could do it. I know how to do it. And we worked hard at that. A lot of midnight oil. And so thankful for my wife. She went through the whole thing with me, and she watched what happened. And the idea wouldn't leave me alone. It bugged me. It woke me up in the middle of the night many times. I took long walks, thinking, throwing pieces of paper in the garbage. They chopped down forests of trees for me. And as they typically do, I go through a lot of paper. And I go through 2 pens a week. Every week, 2 pens are thrown in the garbage as a result of what I write down on a piece of paper. I spend a lot of time with the written word. I spend a lot of time with the verbal stuff. I love to talk. That's one of my affirmations. I love to talk. Have you put that down yet? I love to talk. Because we don't pay you to be silent. And when you've got conviction in your heart, you put a spin in the ball, and all of a sudden, you're persuasive. Because you believe in it, and what they buy is your sizzle. Because you're sold. And sold is unconditional acceptance. If you're still doubting, you're not selling anything. If you're totally sold, you won't be able to stop yourself from selling stuff. And the entire North American continent needs to be converted over to exit, the most highly advertised word in the entire world. And Bill Gates and all of his money could not afford that advertising program. We're the most highly advertised corporation in the entire world. Strategic located above every corporate door in America. It's illuminated by law, EXIT, safe passage, baby. Yeah. And when did you ever feel safe at any other organization? How could you feel safe over there? But you feel safe here, you know it, it's in your heart. And you're glued to the ground, and now we're specializing in getting the most and the best out of you. And we're so proud of the people who are rising to the top. We built the company from the top down. We didn't build it from the bottom up. Every time you see us make a change at exit, it's from the top down, if it's coming from corporate. So the most important thing that we've done this year was the addition of John Lim and John Pax in our tech team to monitor and oversee everything that transpires in tech, because Erica Gillio has done such a fabulous job. But there's really, I know everybody thinks there's about 25 or 30 Ericas. There's only one Erica. Okay? There's only one Erica. And she originated with the help of her tech team, her geeks. I love these guys. I have no idea what language they speak, but they're nice people. And they went in a room and they invented and they put their creative juices together and everything else. And we said, but no, ultimately we need some creative genius, some originality at the top who thinks those kind of thoughts. This is, as the COO, she's not supposed to be putting out fires, and she's not supposed to be running the tech team. Okay, so from a delegation of authority and responsibility standpoint, which is what I do, harness the horses just exactly the right way. Put the right people in the right jobs just exactly the right way. And so we made this decision a number of months ago. I think it's the finest edition, one of the finest editions we've ever made. And I think you're going to see great things. I think you're going to be as proud as punch, because when you delegate authority and responsibility, you can only do it in 2 directions, to good systems and good people. I got the good people sitting in front of me, and now we're going to have the best systems in the entire industry. That's where this is. Yes. In a constant state of self-improvement. And on your agenda, you should have down there, I want and expect a constant state of self-improvement. Not force-feeding, spoon-feeding. Don't force feed your children, spoon feed them. And if you're a manager in this room and owner-manager, spoon feeding. Bit by bit, little by little, and before you know it, they grow. And then they grow into something great, and before you know it, and we've seen them, a trophy day, we see people come up and win these trophies, and they're putting together, we start, I said you could measure a company by where they hand out the trophies. We started 25 units, 25 ends, 25 sides, 25. In the industry, there's companies out there averaging three. Our trophy system starts at 25. But then we see people walk up by the dozens. And they've done 50. They've done 75. They've done 100. We see people come up here, they've done over 400 units. Do you know what that means? Ultimately, is there always going to be somebody better than you? Yes, there is. And that's what evolution's all about. We're evolving. And they're popping up all over the place. And I've told everybody, and I truly believe this is true, I don't pass down what I don't believe. I believe this stuff, that running an office and trying to get the most and the best out of your people, it comes down to two things in this calibration. 20% parental input, 80% peer pressure. That's how you get the most and the best out of the people. Remember the story of Seabiscuit? Remember that? They said, listen, if he gets his head and he starts to run the race and he gets out in front, don't let him run the whole race out in front. Don't. He was raised as a young horse. They ran him 200 races before he started to compete. The average racehorse runs 38 races total. He ran 200 races before they started. He was only 14 hands high. He had short little legs. He was just a little guy. He was lazy. He'd eat twice as much food as everybody else. He'd go to sleep in the grass. He didn't want to work, but they used to whip him. And they whipped him, and they whipped him, and they whipped him, trying to get the most and best out of him. Are you going to get the most out of your kids as a result of whipping them? I don't think so. Stop being the enforcer. Start being the reinforcer. Start being the reinforcer. So he said if he gets out there and he starts to win, pull him back. What? Pull him back. Let him see the other horse. Let him see the other horse. He's got so much antagonism inside of him with regard to this whole thing. If he sees the other horse, you'll buy into jet fuel like you couldn't believe. You'll buy horsepower. You'll buy torque. And those little legs will run the tail off of that horse. It doesn't matter who it is. Just show him the other guy. The spirit of competition in sports is the other guy. And the other guy's in the race to help get the most and the best out of you. That's why they're there. Because sometimes we run out of reasons to get out of bed in the morning, don't we? But then all of a sudden you come into the office and it looks like 18 people have put up deals over the weekend. And you've had the worst weekend of your entire life. You just have to look at the board. Nobody has to speak to you. The manager doesn't have to say a word. You just have to look and see what everybody else did. Zap! You're gone. Peer pressure. Now, look at this. Look at your life. Most of us spend most of our times trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know what you're really doing? You're trying to keep down with the Joneses. The average person out there is hardly making anything at all. The average 30-year-old in the North American continent makes about $33,000 a year. If you're not paying at least $33,000 a year in taxes, you haven't made it yet. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? In the real estate business? If you're not making 100 grand, you're in a coma. Ask Cliff. He knows what that's all about. Check your pulse, see if it's still beating. 100 grand should be your bottom line. Your bottom line. It's all about selling product and providing service. If you're not selling any product and you're not providing any service, you're not alive. You don't have any enthusiasm, no optimism, nothing. What are you doing, just filling time? Bump on the log? Your mother didn't bring you in the world to be a bump on the log. You weren't branded a loser when you were born. Your mom's holding the baby. She calls the husband over. Look, he's a little loser. Look at his smile. You can tell he's a loser. You're only born with two fears. Two fears. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Nothing else. You learned all the rest of this stuff. But you've been conditioned, preconditioned. Don't swim in that pool, you'll drown. Don't climb that tree, you'll fall. Oh, don't stick your neck out, you might get hurt. And they put pain in front of you. And now you suffer from inhibition. Am I correct in saying that what you're suffering from more than anything else is inhibition because the pain is in front of you and you've never learned how to remove the pain? If we could get rid of that pain, we could never stop you. We could never stop you. If you started to affirm, and I'm going to say this to the C temperaments, put up your hand if you know what, if you're a C, put up your hand. Let's go that far. A few of you know what I'm talking about. Angel, come on, get going, Angel. You got a lot of work to do here. If you're a C temperament, you're detail-oriented, okay? You're very organized. You like editing. You like to say the word no, if you're one of them, right? You probably like making lists of things, and what you should do with your affirmation is make a list and then copy it. Keep the master list, copy it out, word for word for word. Throw that one in the garbage. Tomorrow, do the same thing. Copy it out, keep the master list, throw this one in the garbage, throw this one in the garbage, throw this one in the garbage, until you've done it 21 days. It only takes 21 days to hammer in a brand new idea. Then start with a new list. Just do it. You'll see your inhibitions will just disappear because you build yourself from the inside out. It's not the outside in, it's the inside out. Your sense of self-worth is the finest thing that you've been blessed with as a human being. And you should treasure it. It can be reinforced only in the present tense with the affirmation principle. So I'm going to say this: affirm incessantly, with absolute faith. Because your brain is 100 million brain cells. And when you affirm, it's just like learning how to tie your shoes. A little package of information of how to do something and how to be is stored up here. And these brain cells shake hands. And then every time you use the repetitions, myelin sheath made out of 60% of its cholesterol. Cholesterol, by the way, is a very secret ingredient to the functioning of your brain and the functioning of testosterone and the functioning of your entire body. So when you're on, cholesterol reducing medicine, probably not going in the right direction. Your body manufactures 1,000 milligrams of cholesterol every day. Every cell in your body knows how to make cholesterol because it's so important to your body, but your doctor wants you to go on cholesterol medicine, thinking that's causing heart attacks. It's not. It never did, it never will. Misnomer, going down the wrong path. I could prove it to you. They shake hands, and myelin sheath wraps around the arms, creates a greater sense of bandwidth for greater electrical flow, for a more efficient habit. Every time you repeat it, every time you practice. When you go into the gym, don't you practice, right? Repetition. Getting what? Stronger. All you got to do is do the work. When you do it, at the beginning of the day. Sometimes, if you can't fit it in, just before you go to bed. Perfect. I don't care if it's 5 ideas. What would be 5 good ideas? I'm well organized. Are you? Rate yourself 0 to 10. Are you? And if you were an 8, pretty good mark. If you were a 9, would things be better? Right? Is there always a little bit of work to be done? Unfinished business, right? There's 4 things that you should focus on. Number 1, the effective use of free will. We as human beings have been blessed with free will. Practically nobody uses it. Obsession, compulsion, addiction, and inhibition are all pain-related. They're automatic habit patterns that automatically fire off, and you can't stop yourself once they've fired off. Your addiction could be sugar, by the way. You know what I'm talking about. Can't be not just necessarily drugs, not necessarily booze, stuff like that. Could be sugar. I mean, let's face facts. You look pretty good based on the shape you're in. Are you in the kind of shape that you could be if you really tried? Excuse me, if you really tried. Do you have to do a lot? No, you don't. You don't. I'm a person that does this. This is just me. I specialize in doing the least to get the most. I'm good at it. Now, number one, I get everybody that's better than me to do the work. So when I've delegated authority and responsibility effectively, I'm out of work. I'm just not out of a job. So if you see me standing around, I've done my job. But when I work, I really work. The stagecoach driver has all the straps coming back, fitting between the fingers. You don't hold it like a baseball bat. So you can feel the pulse of every horse. The horses pull the wagon. The horses have got all the muscle. The agents can make all the money. You're the manager of the office. And the reason you did this because you were better at selling to salespeople than selling products to customers. We're all selling something, but that's the difference. I was always better at selling to salespeople than selling the product. And believe me, when I have people come up here and they've done 25 ends, 50 ends, 75 ends, 250 ends, I'm absolutely totally amazed because in a lot of cases, I've never been there before. I don't even know where that place is. I have no idea how they carry 65 to 75 current listings. I have no idea. I love it. I just don't know how they got there. I'm amazed by it, thrilled by it. When I look at a girl who looks like she should be teaching kindergarten and she's out door knocking because of the Nasby family, making $400,000 a year, I'm in shock. My God, how did we do that? But we did it. Good real estate agents are born. Great ones are trained. Get it straight. Get it straight. Come on. Get a coach. Get a coach. Now, I personally don't let anybody coach me, but that's a whole different story. I have many coaches, but I get coached from a distance. I was raised that way because of my relationship with my father. I had to watch him from a distance. I learned a lot from him, but we were not close. And all of my learning ever since has been from a distance, but I allow people who even lived in the 1800s to teach me. And it's not as if I'm not a student. I'm a perpetual student. I'm constantly learning. I love learning. My mind is open for business when it comes to good learning. Constantly improving, not force-feeding. I'm dyslexic when it comes to reading. And it's just a little bit of a struggle, but I do even affirm that my eyesight is efficient and that I enjoy reading and so on and so forth. And I do. I spend time with books. It's just more of a struggle for me than it is for a lot of other people. But it's a pathway. I listen better. My ears function much better. I hear things I don't see. So I use my ears to learn. Whatever you're learning with, doesn't matter. The point of the matter is to take a portion of each day and to be learning something, a little bit more. And we're not talking about gluttony. You got to get over gluttony, don't you? Don't you? I said there's two ways to kill yourself, with your tongue and with your fork. I'm looking at you. The fork. The distance between where you are and, where you want to be, as far as your waistline is concerned, is your fork. It's your fork. Have a long talk with your fork. And if your fork's giving you a lot of lip, get a smaller fork. Smaller plates, smaller fork, right? Eat less. You do not need a lot of food, but you need a lot of good nutrition. Whatever I'm interested in, I study. I'm interested in about 12 different subjects. I'm not going to talk to you about all about those, but whatever I'm interested in, I study thoroughly. I've got a thoroughness about me. I'm detail-oriented with regard to what I'm interested in. I'm not detail-oriented in a lot of other areas. But if it really interests me, the magnetic pull of that draws me to that, and I absorb it very quickly. That's what I'm supposed to be learning. And if I can learn it and really get to know it, then I can pass it on to you. But I don't want to pass it on to you until I really know it. Okay, so I study it upside down and backwards. I cross-reference. I do this and this and this, and then I could give you some good sound advice. Because what's the point of giving advice if it isn't good sound advice? Are you a trusted advisor? Are you known as a trusted advisor? Who in your world would say you're a trusted advisor? And shouldn't you be? Shouldn't that be on your agenda? Because it is about passing down wisdom and understanding, isn't it? And guess what? You got a lot. But until you start to teach somebody something, you don't realize how smart you are. You don't realize how much you've picked up along the way. You don't realize the wisdom and understanding that's already built inside of you, but you've never given it to anybody else. So the realization hasn't transpired, but it's in there. You've been around the block a few times. And they deserve a little bit more attention. And what would happen if you did specialize in giving? Just giving. Nature gives it back to you. Whatever you put out, you get back. You know, put out good stuff, you get good stuff back. Put out crap, you get crap back. Is your life full of crap? No, really? Oh, you think nature's throwing you a hardball? Oh, you think stuff happens to you, do you? Do you actually think? Have you not come far enough? Have you not been at Exit long enough to realize that stuff does not happen to you? You attract everything. The law of attraction is functioning constantly. You only attract what you are and who you are, nothing else. So, if you don't like what's coming in the door, start to rearrange the furniture a little bit. Thank you very much. It all starts with you. It starts here. It starts there. And why do we spend so much time on this? We spend so much time with this because here's the average career of a real estate agent. Isn't that about it? A career is supposed to go to the other end, build in a crescendo, and get better all the time. A career, a dentist has got a career, an accountant's got a career, a doctor has got a career. A real estate agent, most of them have just got a job. A job is what you've got when you work at Starbucks. Are you building and stabilizing a sound career, making some good sense out of it, to the point that people trust you, to the point that they always come back to you because your service is impeccable? It's impeccable. I love dealing. No, listen, I know my real estate agent. I know who I deal with. I'm always going to go back to that person. It's you. Because you're so incredibly valuable to them, because it is the biggest product they're ever going to deal with. And why wouldn't they trust you? Why would they put that in the hands of anybody else when you've done such a fine job? When we put out accelerated farming, you know, maybe I should have changed the name. I wrote the book just in the early 1990s. Maybe I should have changed the name to be more appealing, because farming back in the 70s and the 80s was the thing to do. That was the thing to do. It's got, you know, a farmer plants seeds, but it's not responsible to grow those seeds. The book teaches you everything about repetition, everything about identity. Your identity comes in two forms, your face and your name, but your face always comes first. It takes 4 impressions for them to start to get the fact that you've got a system, some sort of a system. By the time they receive it 4 times, they know you're doing something, because nobody else stays in the park that long. But by the time they've received it 7 to 9 times, they will recognize you on the street when they see you. It's just repetitions. If you know the numbers are in the book, 73 pages. I've even got cartoons in there to appeal to the eye temperaments. Tommy, you'll love that book. Did you read it? Or what'd you do? Put it to the side and say, next, what else you got? Is that who you are? If I'm going to spend time out of my life to put something down on paper and send it to you, it's bloody well worth the read. Okay? Spend some time with it, and maybe read it a couple of times. Most of it's designed to be read many times. And when was the last time you picked up Born to be Exceptional and went through it again? Point form, easy. Even the D's enjoy reading that. No clutter. No clutter. Next, next, next. I love it. The only ones I thought I would offend were the S's, okay? A little bit too direct, you know, a little bit too assertive. But in either case, don't you have to get guidance from someplace? It's bathroom reading. Put it beside the toilet, you'll get it read. You put a book beside the toilet, you'll read 3 books a year. Fortune 500 says the average person getting out of high school today does not read a book a year. Just put the book beside the toilet, you'll read 3 a year. Got to do something, you're in there. Right? Now, if we're looking at you from the standpoint of potentiality, getting the most and the best out of you, developing a really sound, wonderful reputation, arm in arm, helping and supporting, looking at the system 10, 7, and 5, looking at residuals, the idea of it. Ask yourself the effective question, you know, is it within the scope of who I am as a human being to suggest to another human being that this is a good idea? See if you're really sold on the idea and you think it's a wonderful place to work. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Wouldn't it be good for somebody else? When you have the chance to invite them in, it's by invitation only, that you get to be able to surround yourself with the kind of people that you want to deal with when you're out there and get them to join you. 10% off the top for as long as I stay with the company is a nice little slice of action, isn't it? A piece of the action, isn't it? Isn't it? Can't go any higher, by the way. I did all the road tests. I put in 6 different formulas. One of them was multi-level marketing, and I proved to myself beyond a question I did not want to go there. Okay? I did it. I don't want it. And I proved it to myself so I'd have the conviction to say no to that. It took me 6 months to run it into multi-level marketing. I know how to do that, but it was long. It was drudgery. But I said no after it was over with. Single level, 10% off the top. And then you get the paychecks, mailbox money, and you get it dropped in, and you sit there and say, oh my God, I've got right now, I don't have it on me right now, but I've got it up in the room, 3 checks that I haven't put in the bank just recently, but it adds up to about $900. You sit there and say, wow, it helped me to put kids through college. It helped me to support, pay insurance and do different things. Added money, extra money. Could you use a few extra bucks? And then ask yourself the real question, why haven't I been doing this? Am I inhibited? Am I afraid of my own shadow? You see, this is not about children afraid of the dark. This is about adults afraid of the light. Isn't that the truth? Isn't it time for a wake-up call? I mean, literally, if we want to get what we want to get, and we want to get that straight, by 2020, with a line in the sand, I get nippy from the odd moment, okay? I want it. That's the end of that story. Why'd the bear climb the mountain? Simply to see the other side. I want to go there, do that, because I think it's doable, and I think this company deserves it. She's a she. She deserves your energy to get the most and the best out of her, so we all can be the best and walk tall with our shoulders back, head up, chest out, stomach in, proud of every moment that we're in the real estate business. Now, you're full of energy. You could be much stronger than you are right now if you would just do 3 things. Stronger, read 20 minutes a day. Exercise 20 minutes a day. Meditate 20 minutes a day. I want you to have peace of mind. I would love for my executives to have peace of mind. If you got to the other end without peace of mind, you missed it. You missed it. Totally at peace with yourself on the inside that you've done a good job, that you're worthy and you're deserving. Worthiness is everything. But you've got to tell yourself that. It's not somebody else's responsibility. And maybe they didn't tell you you were worthy or deserving when you were younger. They did what they were supposed to do. They got you into this world. Then they set an example, good and bad, beautiful and ugly, as to what to do, what not to do. But then you're paddling your own canoe across to the island. It's your responsibility to improve yourself. It's not somebody else. And quit looking for a savior. You're supposed to save your own butt, baby. Didn't we hear that, the first story that was up here? She finally came to a realization she had to get off her own duff and save herself, that she was worth it. And she was worth it, and she is worth it. Once she discovered herself, you won't be able to stop her. But look at the haunts of hell she had to go through to get there, full of doubt. Well, doubt is the father of fear. Fear is the father of hate. Where do you think we get hate? We start doubting in the beginning, and doubt can be removed with good positive input. You put in good positive input, you dissolve the doubt. Once you dissolve the doubt, the fear disappears immediately, and there is no hate. At the base of everything is absolute unconditional love. We're the ones that concoct all the rest of it. The opposite of love is hate. The opposite of hope is fear. Hope for better results, fear of bad results. See, those are 2 opposites. Love and hate are opposites. You have to get the right, if you're going to study word, okay? Richard Flint has a PhD in word, okay, as well as a PhD in psychology. If you're going to study words are very important to me, especially the verbal kind. But if I ever want to put anything in print, Susan Harrison is the person I call on. I could throw stuff at her. I talk. I shoot it at her. I shoot from the hip like I typically do. She writes down the odd word, and 20 minutes later she comes back and it's written absolutely perfectly. I love that. I can't do that. She does that. You see, it's not all about me. I can come up with this part of it. She does the rest of it. Origination, execution. It's not all about me having to do the whole job. Some of you are good at initiation. Some of you are good at finalization. Practically none of you are good at both. You know which one you're better at. You know which one you'd prefer to be doing. The Great Wall ended, going across Niagara Falls with the pole, the whole thing, walking across there. Life is on the wire. All the rest is just waiting. And for a top producer up to this point in time, life on the wire was taking listings and making sales, and there's no place you'd rather be, right, Billy? Taking listings and making sales. Yes! And the rest of the paperwork and all this stuff is just waiting. Oh, I want another one. I want another one. And now we add sponsoring to that mix. Have you lived up to that responsibility? Are you wearing your shoulder pads? Are you in the game? Keep in mind this is football. We huddle before we play. You don't do that in tennis, do you? Okay, it's football. And we play by certain rules. And all I've asked you is this: don't violate the system. Don't violate the system. Don't violate yourself. Don't violate your family. Don't violate anybody ever. Violation, no. No violations. Be good to yourself. Be good to your family. Be good to everybody around you. Be good to this company. She deserves that from you. She's not to blame for anything. I mean, our head office staff with our backup staff, our support staff, our administrative support staff is the finest in the entire industry. In fact, it's the only one in the entire industry. Nobody ever took the time to say, gee, there's going to be some frustration out there with the administrators all across the country. Why don't we put up a backup staff on our nickel so every time they've got a little problem, they can phone to Derek or phone to any of our people back there and get the finest responses instantaneously. They can fix everything. They can go right in on your computer and fix it right in front of your face, and there'll be no frustrations at all. Now, isn't that the way you run a successful brokerage? We got it. Nobody else has got it. Is this rocket science? The industry is asleep. Well, it's a wake-up call. Exit is a wake-up call. Exit is put the heart back into real estate. We put the heart back in because it was becoming heartless. Exit is a family. Tammy talked about all in. All in the family. I'll be Archie Bunker, okay? Go for it, Tommy. All in the family. It's not a real estate company. It's a family. Huh. All because of what happened here the last 2 or 3 days. Wow. New ideas sprouting up all over the place. I mean, is there any more important place that you would be than here this week? I mean, closing a deal at home or some excuse that somebody came up and that's why they're not here. Oh, I had to be there to close the deal because I didn't put it together right and it might fall apart without me. I'm so important, me. It's all about me. John Farrell, love him. Just love him. Big cuddly bear. So, I think he's 6'3". He's bigger than me for sure. I think I can walk right under his armpits. He's a big guy. Has a very addictive nature. And Mike McCarron from the East Coast, lovable guy. He's what I call a human blowtorch. He's got a very addictive nature. In Michael's case, he's addicted to food, and he's got to watch himself very carefully. He just can't eat it. He's got to control what he eats because he'd be 285 pounds if he let his taste buds take him where he wants to go. So to keep it at 215, he's got to control every meal just exactly the right way. But he knows that, and he keeps it in check. Billy over here has got an addictive nature, and he knows he can't smell a cork. He can't go there, can't, and has the power and just developed the power to say no. The word no is a very important word. It creates boundaries. It boxes things in, okay? And there are parts of you that need the word no for structure, right? And sometimes your emotional element is so strong and so exuberant, it needs boundaries. You need structure to flow through there to get the most and the best out of yourself. So the word no becomes a very important word. Despite the fact that you're a salesperson and you're shooting for the word yes all the time, the word no deserves a place in your life, and you should be using it more effectively than you've ever used it before. But know and understand, you are nothing but pure potential. You are human potentiality. And you're not really a human being, you're human becomingness. Constantly becoming more of what you were brought here to be in the first place. The essence of peace of mind is wholeness, balance. Karma in the universe is all about balance. We hear that word karma. a sort of an Eastern word, but you sit there and say, what does it really mean? It's nature trying to find balance. That's all. Is your life balanced? Work hard, play hard, rest hard. That's a good philosophy of life. But what I find is that most of my hard workers, my achievers, my champions, they know how to work, and I don't have to teach them how to work. I don't have to teach some of my executives how to work harder. They already know how to do that. They're blowing the stripes off of everybody from the standpoint of working harder, but they've got no conception of what it means to rest effectively. But if I'm going to coach the coach, the question is, who coaches the coach? If I'm going to coach the coach, what are the right words for that person? I said to Tammy, start paying attention to the spaces in between the activities. Because there was a pause when she said, no, I'm not. She wasn't enjoying those spaces in between. I thought there was a dawning that transpired that day. It was an important thing. And she's a super champion, but I'm maybe one of the only ones that's got a perspective on her. I've got to handle, these super champions when there's little delicate things that just have to be added, but it's a whisper in the ear thing. You don't hit them over the head with a baseball bat because they know how to sword fight, thank you very much. And I'm not cruising for a bruising, but the point of the matter is just a little bit what needs to be added. But if you're going to be a good director in a movie, and quite often this is sort of the way this comes out, you could be a good director, you have to call the main protagonist actor over and say, listen, I got to have a tear in the fourth act, scene 3. I got to have a tear right when you say the word this. You got to have a tear coming down right there, right there. When you're a baseball player and we're watching the finals and everything else, baseball pitchers, and I used to be one, baseball pitchers are hired because they can knock the socks off of anything with that ball. If they want to hit you in the ear, they'll hit you in the ear. If the ball happens to go toward your head, it's because he was throwing it there. They're paid to hit wherever the catcher says put the ball. They are paid to do that. Big bucks, by the way, and they can do that. Eyes out of a snake at 50 feet. It's a deliberate intention. It's an on-purpose intention. Are you living life deliberately? If you slap down the planks in the morning, your train will go across from east to west in the afternoon. Once I've slapped down all the planks, I've done my homework on me, I can then live my whole day spontaneously, easily, comfortably, and let my sense of humor come out, let the I part of my personality come out, the little boy that lives on the inside that I love so much to come out, because I had to do a healing with my inner child. My inner child needed some serious healing, rejection from a father, all this other stuff. And I just assumed the position that my inner child was totally healed. Inside of about 6 days, he was totally healed. Then I had to give my teenager some work because, believe me, if I had to continue down that path, I'd be behind bars today. I had to heal my inner teenager. So I went in with the affirmation principle and I did some healing. And some of you on the inside, you don't ignore those things because there are some sore spots. There is some pain down there. You don't ignore that. Get at it. The affirmation principle, you put in what you want, you take out what you don't want. Editing is an important thing. It's not just injection. Some of it's editing. Here's an editing statement about me and my wife. I am not in the world to fight with that woman. Now, I've maybe written that 8,000 times. I don't know. I think it's in there. I do not fight with her. She plays dirty. I've never won once. I just don't do it. I think in a successful relationship, what the man has to do is submit his will up front. Okay, this works. It's not about argument. It's about working together in cohesion in a loving relationship that's durable right to the end. There's other challenges in the world that deserve my attention other than that. So I don't leave it out. I'm not going to ignore that. I put it down there. And then love, respect, honor, and cherish my family, and love spending time with them, and I do so regularly. Love to hug my kids, love to hug you guys. I've hugged lots of you, I've hugged most of you. I have mascara, cologne, perfume. Because I said, listen, if you're going to be a people person, become more personable. Now I'm a DI, and typically it goes a little bit farther, DIC. See, I have my name too, Guacamo. Out of the mouths of babes, out of the mouths of grandmothers, out of the mouths of Cliff. Guacamo. I love that. You'll always be Guacamo to me. Was that priceless or what? But the point of the matter is, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how serious the stories get, you can always have a little bit of fun. You can put a spin on the ball. Why don't you spend the rest of your life putting a positive spin on everything? Put a positive spin on it. I don't want to join your company. Just like the oil commercial, we don't get you now, we'll get you later. Try not to notice the exit signs. Never let them get the last word. Is it worth it? Yeah, it is. What I want you to do is determine how much money you want in the bank as a result of sponsoring every year. I want that to be a target. If I can set the target of living till I'm 101 years of age, dying on a Saturday in 2047 on August the 17th, at 3:17 in the morning, and that was when I invented the exit formula, with a smile on my face as big as life so it freaks out everybody that discovers me. If I can do that and reinforce it, and be there on that day, and I dare you to be there when I'm there, okay? When I go, I want to have the biggest funeral I ever had. I'm going to beat Gandhi. Special $1,000 bonus, whoever attends my funeral. The only time Jack LaLanne ever disappointed me, he was one of my gurus from a little guy. He saved my kneecaps back in the old days. He was 96 years of age, and they said, do you think you're going to live until you're 100? And he said, I don't know if I'm going to live until I'm 100, but I just want to be living while I'm living. Well, the answer is quite a good one, but he kind of disappointed me because everything he'd done in his life, from Alcatraz, towing boats back and forth, and all the things that he did, these unconscionably physicalities that he expressed, unbelievable, target-oriented and persistence and energy and all this other stuff. And I guess as a little guy, I was kind of hoping he would have said something a little bit more. Damn, 100, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it. He said, I just want to be living while I'm living. Well, I want to be living while I'm living too. But it gives me a chance to supersede one of my gurus. Jack, are you watching, Jack? I'm going to 101, Jack. And that takes guts and gall and grit to say something like that, and most people are fearful about saying a statement like that. Oh yeah, just be my luck. Everybody, they'll have new inventions, and everybody else will be living into 200, but I would have called a shot in 101. I'll be gone, they'll still be here. Hey, Billy, when we go, let's go exhausted, okay? Exhausted, not one drip of energy left, gone. And joyfully, how do you get joy in your heart? Joy is an emotional reaction, a feeling factor that everything is possible. You know something? When you look closely, everything is possible. As soon as somebody says bull to me, that's a bunch of baloney, I know they haven't done any homework. Because when you look closely at everything in this world, especially some of the things that have lasted thousands of years, and you turn around and say that's just a bunch of bull, it just means you haven't done your homework. Because if you pull in a little bit closer with a sense of proximity and you get in closer to just about anything that's had any sense of longevity, you find that there's a tremendous sense of ingredients and value there. You just haven't taken the time. And life is for the living. Right? And live joyously, passionately, one day at a time with joy in your heart. Being helpful and supportive. How do you get a kid to love playing chess? Let them win a little bit. Don't let them think that you let him win. Just let him win, because then he can't wait to play it again. Can't wait to play it again and again and again. And before you know it, he's good. And before you know it, he's great. And then he'll play it for the rest of his entire life because you taught him properly. You didn't just rush in because you could and take unfair advantage and exert muscle when you shouldn't have exerted any muscle. We already know you got muscle. But are you taking enough listings? You know, are you making enough sales? Are you selling enough of your own properties? Are you double-ending enough properties? Are you paying attention to your own listings? Are you paying attention to your customers? Are you in control? I didn't say to control. I said, are you in control? Are you in control? Are you taking care of yourself? How do you take care of the other guy if you don't take care of yourself? What do they say on the airplane? Put the mask on yourself and save yourself first, then save the other guy. Because if you don't save yourself first, you can't save the other guy. Ego drive always comes first. Empathy orientation always comes second. And then control, being in control. Ego drive, empathy, control. And empathy is standing inside the other person's shoes, looking through their eyes to find out why they want to do what they want to do, and then get back into your shoes. We do not sell as a result of sympathy. Sympathy is feeling the feelings that they're feeling. We sell a lot through death and divorce. If you end up feeling the feelings they're feeling, you're going to go down with the ship. When you sympathize with somebody, you strengthen the emotional negativity and destructiveness of it. You go lower than you were in the first place. If you empathize, you can be of some service and help through introducing hope when there is no hope. And then they'll turn around and motivate themselves. You can't motivate anybody. Nobody can. But you can introduce a little hope. Are you introducing a little bit of hope? When you raise kids, we've raised lots of them, my wife and I. It's like reading a book. You don't know how it's going to turn out. Some of them are dramas. We don't want any of them to be crime scenes. You know, it's each book is totally unto itself different. But we allow them. Effective allowing has to do with being self-determined yourself. I am self-determined, and I allow others the same right to be what? Themselves. They're not you. They're not supposed to be you. Your children are not supposed to grow up just like you. They're absolutely different than you. You're trying to mold them and contain them and all this other stuff. You wouldn't even do that with flowers in your garden, for crying out loud. You want to keep them away from drugs, keep them off the streets, keep them out of trouble for sure, no question. But allow them to be themselves, allow them to find their own personalities. Whisper in their ear, and Bob said it very well up here, Farrell, be careful about what you say around your kids. You see, when I said 20% parental input, kids at about 14 stop listening to everything the parents say, but they still keep watching what you're doing. They watch, they eyeball everything you're doing. They know what you're doing. They don't always listen to what you say. And they become affected by their peer group. Their peer group is very effectual on them. And so you're watching, like the mother hen, you're watching them very carefully because you don't want the wrong peer group around them. You know what I'm talking about, right? You mother hen them with the wing. And you want them to be safe and the rest of it. And sometimes it looks as if some of those qualities are negative and destructive, and literally as they start to manifest themselves, know and understand that all of us are born with a blueprint on the inside. Each and every one of us has a blueprint. You've got a reason for being here. You came here with a sense of purpose. Now that's hard for most of you to believe because you think you're an accident. You're not an accident. There are no accidents in nature. When was the last time you saw an accident in nature? There is no accidents. There's a blueprint inside of you that starts to unfold as you start to mature and become a little bit older and you start to find yourself. When you're born, you forget the blueprint. And then you intuitively discover the blueprint moment by moment as you live your life. And intuitively, with the emotional guidance system that's on the inside, telling you this feels good, this doesn't feel so good, right? There's only two feelings. It helps to keep you on track. You know you've had moments in your life when you said to your friend, I'm just not myself lately. I just haven't been myself lately. I got to get back on track. And the person sitting beside you might say, well, what? You look okay to me. No, it's just, I'm off track. I don't know what it is, but I'm just not myself right now. But you also know when you're right on your game, when you're right there, oh my God. Well, you got to understand this. You're always in the right place at the right time. Always. You are now, right at this moment, in exactly the right place at the right time. You're in the right company. You're in the right industry. And it's perfect timing for you. This is a giant garden. And the flowers that are starting to grow in this garden are absolutely phenomenal. I'm proud of each and every one of you. And I love the efforts you put into this company. I love the feeling factor when I come here. I love the fact that you take the time and show up for us. And we're more than happy to put all this together for you and to organize it. And I'm so pleased with head office, all the efforts that go into this, all the people behind the scenes that help. And they lay down the tracks so it comes out to be absolutely perfect. And they say to me all the time, well, how are you going to make it better than the last time? You say it's always going to be better than the last time. And guess what? It always turns out to be better than the last time. I got to ask you this. Has this not been better than the last time? Yeah. Yeah. Now, I couldn't do this. I could never do this. I couldn't do it by myself. I'm not too good by myself. I learned that a long time ago. And it's all about who I surround myself with. And that's the reason success starts to transpire. That's a dawning that transpired early for me. And the most important person in my life, bar none, absolutely beyond a question, and the one that glues it all together for me with crazy glue at home, and is the absolute perfect mom for all of our kids. And she walks so tall, and she's stronger than me, and she works harder than me, and she sets a tone for me, and when I grow up, I want to be just like her. And that's because the rub-off is so wonderful. So it's so wonderful day by day. And we have such a compatible relationship. We're very different with our sense of purpose, but I've learned how to jet stream her. And she's allowed me to be who I am in the business world, and I really appreciate that. And she has such a wonderful sense of control with regard to everything that we stand for at home, that it's made this whole trek absolutely totally worthwhile. And that's my wife, Kathy. Here she is. I'd like Zachary, would you bring Kathy up to the front? Jackie, would you come up as well? All three of you up at the front. Now, there's a special story here. I want to tell the story just for a moment. Last convention, Zachary, this is Zach and Jack. Zachary and Jackie, okay? Zach and Jack. We brought Zach, 30-year-old, to the convention last year because he was lost in space. He's a D temperament. This was not nice. Okay, a D that's lost, not nice. Trying to find himself, a little bit out of sorts, a little bit of anger, because Ds go through that part of that anger. We brought him to the convention, have your seats. We brought him to the convention. We got to the ball, the chairman's ball, sat him at the table, and he sat between his mom and myself. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we've got the draws coming up at midnight. Okay, how am I going to do this? Okay, so I said to Zach, I said, listen, I just want you, would you mind coming up and drawing the second last draw of the evening? Your mom's going to do the last one. The second last draw of the evening. And he says, what do I have to do? I said, well, you have to stay sober enough to walk across that dance floor to reach into the thing and give me the token. All of a sudden, he's staring across the table with anger in his fire coming out of his eyes. He's not comfortable. 20 minutes go by, 25 minutes go by. I walk over around him. It's kind of dangerous right there. And I said to his mom, we're going to pay for this. I got to let him loose. What are you going to do? I'll find somebody else. Zach, no, get the timing. Zach, why don't you have a couple of drinks? Listen, I'll get somebody else to do the drawing. Have a couple of drinks and go to the dance floor. You're off the hook. Straight to the dance floor. Now, who at that exact second, now think of the timing. At that exact second, who's standing there in that place where he goes in a green dress? Jackie. They discover each other. They start to dance. They start to talk. At 5 o'clock in the morning, he's supposed to fly out early the next morning. His sister, Samantha, who was just bringing up the flowers, Sam's trying to get him going because he hasn't even packed his stuff to go home. He almost missed his airplane. Then they faxed and they Skyped and they connected and everything else. 10 months later, these two were married. Now, Jackie's from New York. So Zach now lives in Long Island with Jackie. They just bought a house, got it renovated, beautiful little house. She's in the mortgage business, does a fabulous, fabulous job. He just got just passed his state test to be a real estate agent. So what a marvelous addition to the Morris family, Jackie.